Just give me a second. Give me a second. Just explain this. There we go. Double second. Let's see.
Out of 3,500 colors, we chose the one color to best represent 2026.
I spent a lot of my childhood playing games undercover as the chef's assistant to get a fingerprint off of a
I always
glass.
remember that.
Poptropica has this great feature where you can copy the clothing of pretty much any NPC around you, which makes it a lot easier to get immersed into the style of each island. Deciphering secret codes and sneaking around in the chameleon suit both felt super cool,
Oh,
and you can actually figure out who the bad guy is pretty early on if you're paying attention. I remember one of my favorite parts of this island as a kid was the bowtie grappling hook, and while it is a lot of fun to use, it's also incredibly annoying. The camera follows the bowtie once you fire it, which makes using it really difficult. Since I couldn't see my character anymore once you shoot it off in one direction, I kept falling off buildings and having to restart the
it
entire
happened so
section.
many times.
I love the cartoonishly PG motives of Director D wanting everyone else to be bald like him, and the final set piece in the space station is pretty great. Overall, a really fun island that holds up very well, despite a few awkward platforming moments.
Just watching the Poptropica movement. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, no.
Astro is probably the most unique island in terms of theming. It has a really distinct identity, a cross between sci-fi and traditional medieval aesthetics. The princess has been captured by invaders from space, and you have to find a way off the planet to rescue her. There are 3 cool Space Knight guys who are scattered across different planets, and you have to succeed where they failed. The space overworld is a great way to connect all the planets, the story was actually pretty interesting, and the boss fights added some nice variety to the gameplay. Being able to customize your own spaceship was one of my favorite parts when I was younger. This island is actually pretty difficult, so it feels much more like a proper puzzle adventure game than a lot of the other islands. I remember this ice platforming section being near impossible as a kid, and I had to retry endlessly to get past these weird night-looking fish things. The final fight against Mordred was pretty difficult as well, making it feel great to finally beat him. Astro is definitely one of the strongest islands in the game, and I honestly wish more of the islands could have lived up to this level of quality.
Yes, but sadly. Oh, time goes.
Time Tangled is a huge mix of a whole bunch of different historical time periods, with one giant trading quest linking them all together. Your goal is to stop this depressing future from happening by returning all the lost items to their correct eras. Each time period is a pretty small area, but that's necessary since you'll be traveling back and forth between them so often. This time travel stopwatch is super satisfying to use, and this island is a decently fun journey. I played the updated version of this island, which added some environmental music, but also felt a lot less smooth to control. This is a highly specific complaint, but in the newer engine of Poptropica, the NPCs don't stop talking even if you ask them another question, which makes conversations a lot more tedious than they used to be. Also, they got rid of the cool spinny item inventory for some reason. Anyways, by far the best part about this island is the ending, where you get to run through this restored future city that's really fun to explore. Then you get to see future U's skyscraper apartment, which was just mind-blowing to me as a kid. Most of Poptropica's content can be boiled down to trading item quests, but it is a little more obvious with this one. I still enjoyed it though, despite it feeling like a 5th grade history lesson at times.
Oh, the hardest island.
Skullduggery is one of the islands I remember the most from my childhood, as setting sail on the high seas as a pirate hero is something that the very core of my being yearns for. You start out as just a poor lad with no ship, but quickly get access to this old piece of crap raft and set off in search of adventure and to defeat the evil Captain Crawfish. Each island has a piece of the treasure map to find, as well as different trade rates to take advantage of. Buy lots of a good at a low price, go to a different island and sell it for maximum profit. You know, just basic pirate economics. Slowly earning money through trade to purchase a new ship is a pretty rewarding process, even if it is a little grindy. There's a couple people across the different islands that you can hire to give you extra abilities while out on the open ocean, like a faster reload speed or the ability to heal slowly over time. So you have to balance saving up for a new ship with the huge benefits of hiring new crew members. As you become more powerful, the foes you face in the ocean get more powerful as well, with rival pirates and giant sea monsters attacking you as you travel. Ship combat is pretty methodical. You have to be really precise and patient to not end up in Davy Jones' locker. During my playthrough of this island, I listened to Assassin's Creed Black Flag's soundtrack, which made my experience like 10 times better. Once I finally had a solid ship and all the pieces of the map, I set sail for the Mystery Island to face off against Captain Crawfish himself. But for some reason, you just can't defeat him unless you have the most expensive ship. Even though I outplayed him with my pure skill and got his health bar all the way down multiple times in a row, he simply heals endlessly. So I had to play for another half hour grinding to eventually unlock the Phoenix Warbird, which felt kind of lame. But once you finally defeat him and dig up the treasure, there's the obligatory twist villain reveal, the bad guys are chased off, and you and your crew sail off into the moonlight. This is still one of my personal favorites, even though it requires some grinding towards the end. I'm sure it's still much better than Skull and Bones though. Mystery Train has you playing as a detective, trying to figure out who the thief is on this moving train. It almost plays like an Ace Attorney game, with you having to show different pieces of evidence to everyone on board to try and figure out who the culprit is. The highlight of this whole island are the sections where you have to run on top of the moving train while avoiding passing obstacles. It's fun to try and solve the mystery yourself, at least until Grover Cleveland shows up out of nowhere and kind of just explains it all to you. Once you finally find out who's trying to sabotage the carnival, you have to chase this hardcore Paris stand through a big set piece while being chased by police, which is pretty cool. This final part on the giant Ferris wheel took me a couple attempts to do successfully, and the climactic swing to save the Transformer is the perfect ending. A lot of Poptropica's content has you playing as a sort of detective, so actually getting to play the role of one in this island fits really well. I enjoyed this one a lot, even though the constant load screens between train cars can get a little old after a while. 24 Carat is one of the earliest islands, which became pretty clear once I replayed it. This one is super short, but still manages to be pretty memorable. This small town has been devastated by the loss of all their carrots, and town members have been mysteriously disappearing. You spend most of this island navigating these air ducts in the big factory, sneaking around, disabling security systems, and saving the brainwashed workers. You stop the evil Dr. Hare from taking over the world by crashing his giant bunny rocket ship, and that's pretty much it. Dr. Hare kind of became the mascot of Poptropica as a whole for some reason, probably just because this is one of the original islands. It's a pretty fun journey, despite it being so short and somewhat repetitive. The most interesting thing about this island to me as a kid was the soda machine in the diner that lets you change your hair color.
Yes, I did that before. The original superpower.
Superpower Island has you tracking down and catching supervillains that escaped from prison. These evil people are wanted for doing horrible things like illegally copying music, ratting on their friends, and flying without a license. There's these mini boss fights against each supervillain, and they're all pretty fun. Some of them actually take a fair amount of platforming skill, or I'm just really bad at controlling a game made for children. Once you defeat 5 of the villains, this old retired superhero gives you the power of flight, and you head up into the sky to chase down the final villain. The super small screen size makes this final fight a little awkward, but getting the ability to fly around freely is possibly the single coolest reward from any of the islands. I remember being super disappointed that the power of flight didn't carry over to the other islands, even though that would obviously break every platforming challenge permanently. This island has a lot of fun moments, and its cheesy superhero atmosphere works really well in the Poptropica art style. I remember thinking this was one of the best islands, but it's a little too short and simple for my boring adult tastes.
As a kid, it's Poptropica Island was golden.
Red Dragon was probably my personal favorite island as a kid, since I was obsessed with both ninjas and dragons, so this was really the perfect match for me. I even had a copy of the Magic Treehouse book this island is trying to promote, which is a weird coincidence. You're trapped in ancient Japan and have to rescue these 2 dumb kids who get themselves thrown in prison. The visuals of this island are gorgeous, and there's a lot of really solid puzzles and interactions. You help fix a bridge, trim a bonsai tree, wrestle in a sumo match, and help a fisherman catch a kappa.
Oh, that's
After all
sumo.
that, Basho, the
I
old
remember
ninja
that.
master, will decide to help train you. Then you get a whole bunch of awesome ninja tools like smoke bombs, a bow staff, throwing stars, and a grappling hook. Using all these tools is super fun, and climbing up the mountain to reach the Shogun's palace is a great platforming section. Then you have to infiltrate the fortress itself, which is this fantastic stealth section where you'll have to make good use of all your ninja skills. This was the ultimate power trip for me as a kid, and honestly, its magic still works for me. For some reason, I just love these types of gameplay moments where you have to perfectly sneak past all the enemies without them seeing you. Then the Shogun uses a magic wand to summon the red dragon, which immediately backfires. The final boss fight has you riding on the cloud dragon, flying through the sky firing water at the red dragon. It's a pretty simple and straightforward fight, but it's still a cool spectacle. This island absolutely still holds up and is just as fun as I remember it being. This is peak Poptropica as far as I'm concerned, so apparently I haven't grown out of my love for ninjas and dragons.
Oh, counterfeit.
In Counterfeit Island, you have to try and stop a famous painting from being stolen. After a very long and confusing intro including, but not limited to, searching through the trash, collecting random scraps of paper, getting a job, and sending a young child into the sky never to come down again. I enjoyed the second half of this island a lot more than the first half, as it started out feeling like pointless and random events that had nothing to do with each other. But things get a lot more interesting once you have to sneak into the museum at night and dodge all these lasers, leading to you getting framed. But easily the coolest part is when you have to go back to early Poptropica and talk to an NPC on an entirely different island to progress, which is really unique, and I'm pretty sure this is the only time this ever happens. The finale was actually kind of hard and took me a couple tries to get past. You have to work together with the guy who set you up to stop the villain from destroying too much art. Overall, this island is definitely one of the more difficult ones, and it has a lot going for it. Although the middle section where you have to do all these boring museum jobs wasn't very fun for me personally.
Yeah.
Exploring the ancient world of Mythology Island and running into a whole bunch of Greek gods is pretty cool, even though Zeus literally just gives you a big to-do list. There's a nice variety of activities on this island. You have to navigate the Minotaur's labyrinth, swim through Poseidon's temple, and survive the river Styx. The only one I got stuck on for a bit was Aphrodite's pop quiz on Greek mythology. Give me a break, okay? It's been like a decade since I read Percy Jackson. To absolutely no one's surprise, Zeus turns out to be a jerk, so you gather some magical artifacts, Hercules dies, and you face off against Zeus in a pretty straightforward boss fight. This island has a really nice sense of atmosphere and solid writing and jokes. I think these are great interpretations of these mythological figures. The mirror that lets you fast travel around the map instantly cuts out a lot of the usual backtracking, which is much appreciated. After completing this island, I suddenly have a very strong desire to play Hades. Sharktooth takes place on a tropical island full of tourists.
On this, you get the Sharktooth outfit in the store. Where is the outfit?
Where this lady's son is trapped by a giant shark swimming in the water.
I have to stop. I don't go too far. I will come back to this video.